Hey geeks, hope you had a good free comic book day. That was last week, and I'm making my FCBD video now to show you the free comics that I got from my LCS. Um, it's kind of weird. I don't remember in previous years the three comic book rule where you can only take three out of the selection that they have on the table. Um, but the way my comic shop did it, they were like, you can come in and get three of them, and then you have to get back in line if you want to get three more. So I think I got in line at least twice, maybe a third time. Um, but yeah, so I mean, I can kind of see the logic to it. Um, they're trying to make sure that people aren't, you know, going to come in and just kind of grab everything. I mean, certainly you want to put limits on how many of the same title. I mean, you want people to just grab one title, not like, oh, I'll just grab this whole stack. I mean, there's got to be some rules to it to keep things orderly. We must maintain an orderly comic society. Um, but yeah, I don't remember the three because I remember in years past I would go and I would just like they would be like just grab one of each, grab one of whatever you want, and then that would be that. So you know, I think with the three book rule though, what it does is it creates a situation for the shop where if you're like me, you grabbed your three free books and then you went inside the shop to do a little shopping. And then you came back and you grabbed three more free books, And then for some people, they may go back into the shop and do some more shopping and then come back out and grab even more books that are free. So it kind of works out. All right. What did I get? Oh, so I did do some shopping. Um, I did get Ghost in the Shell #2, Ghost in the Shell, the human algorithm. If you're into the Ghost in the Shell continuity, this apparently takes place after Ghost in the Shell 1.5, which I have, that I have not read yet. But 1.5 comes after the original Ghost in the Shell manga, collected manga, which is pretty cool. I have an old black and white volume of the Ghost in the Shell manga. I forget who published it. I think it was like Dark Horse, maybe. Um, I mean, it's old, and then they had those colorized hardcover versions that came out, which I collected those. Um, so I have Ghost in the Shell 1.5, and then in those hardcover books that came out from Kodansha, um, the third edition is, I don't know what they call it. Uh, it may be Standalone Complex, but this apparently takes place in between 1.5 and Standalone Complex, if I'm getting my continuity correct. If you're a Ghost in the Shell fan, you know that it can be sometimes confusing as to the continuity. Um, but there is a continuity, which is pretty cool. That's what, and then if you want to get into like the Netflix show, I think what was the latest one? It was Ghost in the Shell. Was it 2049 or 2092 or something like that? So they actually put a year on that one. And that's supposed to, I think, be the farthest point of the continuity. I think. But don't quote me on that. Anyway, I do have volume 1, so I decided to pick up volume 2. And I assume also if I don't know, the movie and television show continuity may be a little different than the manga continuity, which would kind of make sense. But I remember Ghost in the Shell 2 Innocence, where the Major basically disappeared. She was literally a ghost in the machine. Um, and she was only able to communicate, like cybertronically, telepathically with Beato. So I don't know if this series of books plays into that, where the major makes a physical reappearance at some point. Ooh, Spider Bot. Yeah, yeah. Kodansha did this one too. Good stuff. Space Pirate Captain Harlock. This looks not new to me. I, I don't know if this is. I don't know if this is a reboot. But that cover looks like the cover that they have used before. But I'm a I'm a Matsumoto fan. Love Galaxy Express. Love Space Harlock. Um Queen Esmeralda. The whole universe that he's created, and seeing this new work here, he did the story. Jerome Al Jerome Alquois. Jerome Alquois. Um, Interesting. Not a Japanese artist, I wouldn't expect. So, there's some really incredible art in this. Wow. Yeah, when this comes out, I'm definitely picking this up. There he is. Yeah, cool. A lot of good pages in here too for a free comic book. Like, most of these books, I'm sure you're all aware, like they'll be like maybe just a couple of pages of actual comics, and then they'll just chunk in a bunch of ads for that comic and other comics. But this is like a full comic book. So very cool, man. I love this. Oh, they even give you some bonus material. Dude, they did you right on this one. There's an ad. Yeah, I could be wrong though. I thought Ablaze had already done this. They've already published this. Oh, I have to dig deeper on that. The Phantom from Mad Cave. Ray Fox, Russell Olson. Yeah, doing another. I guess another. Reboot of the Phantom is always welcome. He's hanging out, brooding in his library study, writing in his diary. It's like something I would do. Yeah, very cool. It's just the Phantom, man, doing Phantom stuff. Doing what the Phantom does. Yeah, I love that there's really kind of been a renaissance bringing back a lot of these old school public domain superheroes from the pulp era, from the pulp and the golden age era. I think that's a good thing for comics, and it's a good thing to keep these characters, going and introducing them to new audiences, new generations of comics fans. Yeah, and yeah, I guess Mad Cave has been doing a lot of these. Used to be Dynamite was really doing a lot of the old school public domain characters. Mad Cave is in on the action. I think Mad Cave, they're doing that Dick Tracy one too now too, aren't they? Amazing Spider-Man Ultimate Universe. So JRJR does the artwork, so that's good enough to pick it up. I'm not really into. I have a weird relationship with Spider-Man. Like I loved it when I was a kid, but as an adult, I'm just not really into Spider-Man anymore. Um, but I've heard a lot about this book. I heard that it was pretty good. I always appreciate John Romita Jr.'s art. Um, so I decided to grab it. Real nice guy, John Romita Jr. too. I've had the pleasure of going to some panels that he's been in at Dragon Con, and I think I saw him at another comic book convention. Always great artwork by him. But yeah, I'm really out of the loop on a lot of this Spider Verse stuff. I feel like similar to the X-Men, Marvel has just kind of watered it down by making every single absolute character that's ever been in Spider-Man a spider type character. I mean, do we have like a Spider Aunt May at this point? And yeah, I mean, it's just like Spider MJ, Spider Gwen, Spider this, Spider that. Whoa. Is that Blade? Looks like Blade. Looks like Invincible. Very similar. Definitely got the color scheme, but it's a very similar mask too. I think do they have two artists in this book? Looks like they changed artists. Anyway, I'll read it and check it out. Yeah, there's Venom. Oh, he's taking out AIM. Cool. Hmm. Pepe Larraz, John Romita Jr. Might be an interesting book to check. I don't know. Maybe I'll get back into reading Spider-Man again. I did not have issue number 5 of Absolute Batman, so I purchased this to keep the run going. I realized it when I was putting all of them together to start reading through them. And I realized I somehow missed picking up issue number 5. So I was like, oh, well, let me hit their back issue rack and see if I can snag a copy of it. And they did have it. This might be a second printing, though. A second or third printing, but that's okay. I just wanted the continuity since I collected issues 1 through 7, but missed this one. I was like, well, I don't want to buy the trade paperback. I want to sit down and read the floppies in order. I'm digging DC Comics lately, at least what I've read. Although I was thinking about it last night, or was it this morning? I'm not. I like the Challenge of the Unknown that they just abruptly like ended it, and they're like, oh, well, we're gonna resolve all these loose plot points in Justice League Unlimited. Okay, but like, I don't know. I'm old school. Like, if you're gonna start another book, like let's get it to run 80, 100, 300 issues if we can. You know, let's not just be like, well, we're going to do 6 issues. Well, then that's just a mini series. Just call it a mini series. They never called it a mini series. They just said, here's Challengers of the Unknown. Nice. Yo, the new Absolute Batman is jacked. So yeah, I was like, wait a minute. I mean, I'm starting to get into Justice League Unlimited, and I love that concept. I love it from the animation. So, but yeah, it just was kind of, I don't know. I just kind of felt like they gypped me a little bit because it was like I was thinking it was this is going to kind of go, concurrently as part of the all in universe, and it's going to go however many issues it can go as long as it's selling. And they were just kind of really getting into developing the characters a little bit more, and then it was just like, oh, okay, well, we're done here. You want to find out what happens to the challengers, you gotta read Justice League Unlimited. Which, like, how many more story plot points can they fit into Justice League Unlimited? I know it sounds like I'm complaining, but I'm really not. The JLU book, I didn't buy it at first, but I started getting those issues because of that crossover event they're having with Gorilla Grodd and Superman, and what's it called, All Our Yesteryears or whatever. And I read it. I read issue number 2, um, which I think I picked it up because it had a cool variant cover on it. And issue number 2 was about this attack of like parademons, and it was just a really good issue. And so it kind of got me hooked. I don't know if I picked up issue number 1. Maybe I can go back and find it. But and then I read whatever the latest issue was, JLU number 6 or number 7, which was also really good. So yeah, I've been pleased with everything I've been reading from DC, both All In and Absolute, lately, which is like consistently pleased so far here in 2025. So um, I'm all in on it. Now, am I going to pick up every single title they've got coming out? No. But I think as long as you read Justice League Unlimited, you're kind of tied into everything that's going on. I've heard the new Green Lantern is fantastic. So I am interested in that. I'm probably going to buy, I think there's one, or they might be up to 2 trade paperbacks to catch up on that. So I'm going to get caught up on that one. I was not going to buy Godzilla versus Spider-Man, but I heard a lot of people talking about it. Again with the Spider-Man. No, but I liked the Godzilla versus Hulk. That was awesome. The Fantastic Four one was okay. And then I was like, that's it. I'm done with these, what do I call them? Novelty comics, that Disney can do because Disney owns 80% of everything. And but I've heard good things about this book, so I was like, all right, I'll pick it up. If the art's cool, which as you can see here, the art is cool. um, and I would say I'm a bigger Godzilla fan than I am a Spider-Man fan at this point. Um, so yeah, and is this? Oh yeah, that's what this is. Yeah. So one of the things I like about these books is they show like the original. I think these are from the original '70s Godzilla comics. So yeah, there's something going on with Disney, Marvel, and Toho because Godzilla is just like popping up everywhere now in Marvel. They reissued all those original Godzilla issues from the '70s. They put those into an omnibus, which I would like to get. And I've got a video. I think one of my earliest videos was on that Godzilla title, where he takes on the is it the champions? Yeah, where he takes on the champions and Shield and hands them their butts. So so yeah, this whole I don't want to use the word trope because that's become such a pejorative, but the whole trope of superhero teams taking on kaiju has been going on for a very long time. Like these recent iterations of it that you see in DC and Marvel, like it's nothing new, but it's still fun. It's just, it's classic. What if Donald Duck became Iron Man? Okay. Um, yeah, so we got Spider-Man in the black spider suit. That's a cool panel. I love that panel. You see him coming around the corner there, holding onto the building. That's how a reptile would move. Spider-Man is singing 80s dance hits. Oh, he's in the Venom suit. I guess that's what yeah, I guess that's what's going on. Oh, then Venom. Okay, then Venom goes after Spider-Man or Godzilla. Wow. Wow. Okay. Well, this is a new book, so I'll stop showing it there. On that note, Kong, Godzilla, and DC. What could go wrong? So yeah, here we go. The Godzilla and King Kong versus Justice League. Oh, they're doing a rematch. Interesting. So I didn't pick that up either because I was like these kind of novelty comics, one off. But I don't know. They're kind of getting me hooked in. So is this the absolute universe, or is it all in? Hmm. Now this one here, Imperial. When does this come out? They're doing pre-orders now. 4-part miniseries. Yeah, it ought to be 6. If it's Hickman, it should be 6 issues, not 4. Yeah. Okay. I'm keeping my eye on that one. Waiting for that to come out. Okay, back to some free comics. All in special for the Absolute Universe. Uh, Substantial size comic book. They packed in some good pages here. I'm sure there's a bunch of ads, but what do we got here? Jeff Lemire, Giuseppe Carmaccioli, Stefano Nassi. Yeah. Absolute Batman, Absolute Superman. I think this is kind of like a little anthology type deal. Absolute Wonder Woman. Yeah, I think they just kind of seeded in some pages from the other comics. That's cool. I haven't been watching this. I'll have to check that out. To watch it on Max. Yeah, All in Saga. Um, I like I like most of those writers. Most of them. This is a cool panel. Good full page spread. And the shards of glass all represent some other scene or memory. Ooh, the Omega Men. Yes, what did happen to the Omega Men? I haven't seen them around lately. Yeah, I got issues number 1 and 2. I haven't read them yet. I've heard Flash is decent too. And I've heard great things about Green Lantern, so yeah, probably I might dip into that Flash book. I used to be I love the Flash in the 80s. I hadn't really I don't have anything against the Flash. I just haven't, just I can only keep up with so many comics. And so it might be time to dip back into the Flash though. Oh, this is cool. They got a sort of an overview of what's going on. That's appreciative. And then yeah, DC's been doing a lot of these kind of flip book deals too. Because you got the all in and you got the absolute. So um, this Death of Darkseid, I think it was the all in special, which I recently read. Came out a while ago, but I recently read. Just excellent comic. I excellent. Probably one of the best comics I've read this year. And it basically sets up the all in and the absolute, the split universes of all in and absolute. Um, and they do this flip book concept. One side of the book tells a story from one side of the universe, and the other one tells a story from a different side of the universe, and they meet in the middle, and it's just done so well. And it just I don't know. It reminds me of DC in the 80s when they were a little bit more experimental. Well, actually, a little in the 80s, to me they were a lot experimental, even more so than Marvel. But Marvel had good established titles going on. DC was trying to play catch up. And Jeanette Kahn was like a genius. She was like, let's do everything. Yeah, let's roll the dice. That sounds good. So that's how we wound up with stuff like Ronin and The Dark Knight Returns. But a lot of other good stuff too. There's a lot of good like crime noir comics from back in that era, and stuff like Hardwired, and um, they were doing stuff with Shaken. I think that's when he was doing that miniseries on the Shadow. And DC was willing to take a lot of experiments back then, and not all of them sold, but that didn't mean they weren't quality work. And in many ways, I think they were sort of setting the stage for adult graphic novels. Um, Certainly with Watchmen, you know, it sort of brought comics up from the sort of kiddie level. I mean, they were kind of they were knocking on the door of social issues anyway, with like Green Arrow and Green Lantern, with some of the '70s comics in the Bronze Age. But they weren't quite they were still there was still an innocence to them. They weren't quite at the level where like a 45-year-old could pick it up and kind of relate to what was going on. I should say a 45 non-comic fan, because comic fans know the deal. Like, we're going to read everything. Um, so yeah, someone should do a scholarly study of the DC 80s and 90s Jeanette Kahn era, because I just really think the creativity in that period of time with DC was off the chain. I mean, she was willing to take so many different risks with creators, and they were beginning to experiment with creator owned comics, which also helped in the creativity. So the editors, in some cases, I think, were told to sort of take a back seat and let the creators, do their thing. And I think we're much better off for it today, because of that. Because who else was going to do that experiment back then? There wasn't really anybody else around. I mean, you had indie comics like Pacific and Malibu, I think, were just getting off the ground. But it was still, I think, DC who kind of led that way in terms of experimentation. So bring on the bad guys. Oh. Well, I mean, Doom already runs the Marvel World universe now, right? So yeah, I picked up this new Fantastic Four just to see what's going on with Fantastic Four. Um, I don't care for the artist here. I don't really like the way he renders Fantastic Four. Sue Storm looks like a teenager, and she's not. She's supposed to be like, at this point, she ought to be kind of like a middle aged woman. And then what's with the handlebar mustache on Johnny Storm? Not too much of a fan of this artwork. The end of the beginning. You know, I wonder if this is going to reboot Marvel. I'm kind of hoping it does. Yeah, I haven't been keeping up with Fantastic Four, although I am about to pull the trigger on the Jonathan Hickman Fantastic Four omnibuses. I'm sort of beginning my early dip into the Jonathan Hickman Marvel saga. Um, so that means I'm going to have to catch up on his run on Fantastic Four. Got some X-Men in the house. Another Godzilla book. The New Heroes. ID. So it's not IDW? Oh, it is IDW. They're just using a different logo now. Oh, I see it now. IDW. Okay. Yeah, they got a new logo. And there he is. Double splash page. Yeah, for the longest time, I didn't really. Oh, is that Jet Jaguar? Yeah. For the longest time, I wasn't looking at these Godzilla comics, these kaiju comics that were coming out from IDW. I was getting one here and there, maybe TPB here and there, but lately I've really started getting into them, mostly because the artwork of that guy, I can't remember his name, but he's considered to be kind of like the foremost Godzilla um, artist at the time at this moment, and he's a huge kaiju fan. Huge. If you've ever seen his YouTube channel, I apologize, I can't remember his name. I think it's Matt something or other. Um, but yeah, the guy just he lives, breathes, and sleeps kaiju, and his artwork is just incredible. This is more of an anime manga style here. Escape the dead zone. This might be him.